Hi all, welcome back to a new post and another series of preliminary main questions for the upcoming UPSC preliminary examination of 2024. So let's continue with the June. So we have few more preliminary bits with regard to June, and the next most important one from the previous one was Sweden. I'm sorry, we already spoke about the last topic in the last post, that was Sweden joining the NATO membership and about NATO in brief, which is a collective security organization that was formed in 1949. And let's speak about POSCO. So the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act was passed in 2012, and recently it was amended in 2019. Now this is a comprehensive law that deals with sexual offences against children. So it defines the offences, punishments, and what are the steps to be taken by the government as well. They are fast track courts under this act to trial the offences under this act in a fast track manner. So the POSCO not only spells out the punishment for the offences, but also sets out a system for support of the victims and improved methods of catching the offenders. The very recent amendment was in 2019, where it increased the punishment for grave offences against children, especially sexual offences. And the next most important, the second important one in this post is about the Bangkok Vision 2030. Now, why was this in news? It is related to BIMSTEC. So the 19th BIMSTEC ministerial meeting was hosted by Thailand, and Thailand has put forth a Bangkok Vision 2030, which seeks to propel BIMSTEC towards a region that is prosperous, resilient and open, moving in a forward-looking trajectory for sustainable and balanced growth. Now in 2022, very recently, the BIMSTEC Charter was adopted, which lays the foundation for it to function as a full-fledged organization. Previously, it was only based on a declaration by the member countries. Now, the 19th BIMSTEC, which is whose members are 7 members of the Bay of Bengal region, and the 19th ministerial meeting was hosted by Thailand, who is one of the member, apart from Bangladesh, India, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, and Nepal and Bhutan as well. So they discussed and approved the draft text of BIMSTEC Bangkok Vision of 2030. The next third important one is the MQ-9 Reaper UAV, which is the unmanned aerial vehicle. Now, India is procuring this vehicle or the UAV from US for both the Indian Army and the Navy. It is being developed by General Atomics, and it is a high altitude, long endurance armed UAV, which is going to be used both in the Indian Army and the Navy as well. And the fourth most important one is the Oslo Forum. So recently, for the very first time, India participated in the Norway's Oslo Forum, which was organized for peace talks with regard to Afghanistan. Now, the Oslo Forum is a leading series of retreats for international mediators and also peacemakers. Earlier, India participated in the Moscow Format Dialogue in 2022 and in the Doha Dialogue in 2020 for peace talks. Now, the Moscow Forum was started in 2003, and it is a series of retreats for international conflict mediators, high-level decision makers on peace process actors as well. And peace process. The forum is co-hosted by Royal Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue. And the next one is SC status for Metis. So the SC status is state specific or Union Territory specific, and it is included in a constitutional scheduled tribe order of that specific state, which is spelled out by the President of India. And it is the definition of SC/STs is given under Article 341 and 342. So the Metis want to be included in the SC community list of Manipur, and recently this was the conflict between the Kukis and the Metis, where the state went to such an extent that there was a recommendation to impose President's rule under Article 356 for Manipur as well. Now, this related to this is recently the central government released the OBC list. So the OBC list is prepared by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Almost 80 castes were added to the central list. The castes have been approved by the National Commission for Backward Classes. The procedure for approving a central list of the OBC is included in the National Commission of Backward Classes Act 1993. There are currently 2,650 castes mentioned in the central list of backward classes. The National Commission for Backward Classes panel is mandated to to constitute a bench which then examines the proposals and forwards the same to the union government. The cabinet then needs to approve the additions of the caste to this list and bring out specific legislation to bring the changes, and finally it is notified by the President of India. Now, unlike the procedure that adds the communities for SC and ST, they do not have to rely on the concurrence of the Registrar General of India for the central list of the OBC or any other authority, and the National Commission for Backward Classes concurrence is sufficient for the central list of OBC. Now, the National Commission for Backward Classes considers the social, economic, educational indicators suggested by the Mandal Commission established in 1979 to add communities or castes under the OBC. And the next most important issue is the National Institutional Ranking Framework. Now, this was established by the Ministry of Education in 2016 and to assess the overall category of education institutions, which not only include colleges but also universities and research institutions, and they study specific disciplines like engineering, management, pharmacy, law, etc. You can take a look at what are the disciplines that this ranking framework looks into. The parameters on which the index includes the ranking of these institutions are teaching, learning and resources, research and professional practice, graduation outcome, outreach, inclusivity and perception as well. Now, the next most important is African Union. So, African Union has become the new member of G20. This body was launched in 2002 and consists of 55 nations. It is a successor of the Organization of African Unity, and it is considered as the topmost grouping representing the voice of Africa. So, I would like you to go into deeper about the African Union, try to map the countries as well. The next most important is the Defence Ministry was speaking about the Uttar Pradesh Defence Industrial Corridor and the nodes being developed in this corridor. Now, it is an aspirational project on the lines of Make in India or Atmanirbharta in the defence sector, and it aims to reduce the foreign dependency of the Indian aerospace and defence sector. In Uttar Pradesh Defence Industrial Corridor, 6 nodes are identified. Number 1 Agra, number 2 Aligarh, number 3 Chitrakoot, number 4 Jhansi, number 5 Kanpur, and number 6 is Lucknow. Now, Jhansi and Chitrakoot nodes are located in the Bundelkhand region. So, there have been many steps taken by the Ministry of Defence to reduce the imports, that is positive indigenization list, liberalization of the FDI where 74% of the FDI is permitted into or the automatic route in the defence sector, simplification of the Make in India procedure, launch of mission Def Space, launch of innovation for defence excellence or IDEX scheme involving the startups, micro, small and medium enterprises, implementation of public procurement order in 2017, and launching of an indigenization portal, namely Srijan, to facilitate indigenization by the Indian industry, including the MSMEs. And let's come on to the Gandhi Peace Prize of 2021, which went to a press in Gorakhpur, and the name of the press is Geeta Press. Now, this is one of the largest publishers of religious texts in India, such as the Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, and it publishes them in 14 languages. It was established 100 years ago in 1923, and 2023 marks 100 year of establishment. The Gandhi Peace Prize was established in 1995 during the 125th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, and it carries an award of 1 crore, a citation, a plaque, and a handicraft and handloom item as well. The previous awardees were ISRO Ramakrishna Mission, Grameen Bank of Bangladesh, Vivekananda Kendra, the President of South Africa Nelson Mandela, Baba Amte, environmentalist Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, etc. And recently, the 9th International Day of Yoga was celebrated on June 21st, 2023. Next year will be 10 years of yoga celebration. Now, it was adopted, the resolution to celebrate June 21st as the International Day of Yoga was adopted on the behest of India, who forwarded the resolution in the United Nations, and it was adopted in 2014. Let me tell you that there is a yoga protocol that is released to be followed by everyone on this day by the WHO and also the Ministry of Ayush in India. Now, Anna Bhagya, a scheme called as Anna Bhagya has been in news. It is a free rice distribution scheme that is in news, especially in Karnataka, because recently Karnataka went out of rice supplies to provide rice under the scheme, and therefore Punjab came to its help providing rice for the distribution of rice under the Anna Bhagya scheme. And INS Kirpan has been in news. What is INS Kirpan? So, it is a Kukri class missile corvette that has been gifted by India to Vietnam to enhance Vietnam's naval capabilities. The INS Kirpan is a Kukri class missile corvette. The two countries have signed a joint statement on India-Vietnam Defence Partnership 2030 very recently, and it was in 2022 that India and Vietnam signed a mutual logistics support agreement as well. And another important agreement that was adopted with regard to environment is the High Seas Treaty. So the United Nations adopted the first ever agreement to protect the high seas. It was agreed during the talks held by the United Nations and in the Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Biodiversity of Areas Beyond the National Jurisdiction, or BBNJ, in New York, United States. The treaty is yet to be formalized and adopted, as it has to be ratified. It has not been ratified by all the countries. Once adopted, it will be legally binding on all the countries who ratify it, according to the 1958 Geneva Convention on High Seas. So we have a convention on high seas called as the Geneva Convention on High Seas. Parts of the seas that are not included in the territorial waters or the exclusive economic zone or the internal waters of the country are called as ICs, and it is under the control of the United Nations. Now, Chashma was in news. It is in Pakistan. So this region, this place in Pakistan was in news because China is going to build a 1200 megawatt of nuclear power plant in Pakistan. And what is exactly now the 1267 sanction, Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee? That was a news which recently designated an individual as a terrorist. So this committee has a list which is also called as the 1267 list, better known as the ISIL or Daesh and Al-Qaeda sanctions list. All the persons or the entities designated by the UN on either the 1988 list or the ISIL list, Daesh and Al-Qaeda sanctions list, are designated entities for the purpose of Terrorism Suppression Act. Now, the number 1267 is the number of the sanction which was signed by the United Nations Security Council, passed in 1999. The resolution deplored that the Taliban should not provide shelter to and support and train a large number of international terrorists, including indicted terrorist Osama bin Laden. The committee comprises of the permanent and the non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. The 1267 list of terrorists is a global list with the UNSC stamp on it. And the next most important thing is about recently which state had its seats for SC and ST increased. That was Assam. So recently a draft notification of the Election Commission of India where the draft delimitation increased the seats reserved in the Assembly of Assam for the SC and ST. However, the general constituency seats were left untouched. So this is delimitation is a function of the Union government, and it is taken up by a delimitation commission that was formed by the Government of India, which performs a delimitation to the parliamentary and the assembly constituencies on the basis of the census data. And the next most important issue is about the Puri Rath Yatra. It is an annual event where the deities of Lord Balabhadra, Jagannath and Devi Subhadra are taken to the Mausima temple and brought back to Jagannath temple on the 9th day. So it is a 9-day event. This Jagannath temple is a 12th century temple. King Indradyumna of Avanti had built this temple, and it was rebuilt by Anantavarman Choda Ganga, the first king of the Eastern Ganga dynasty. And this is all for this series of your June preliminary questions for current affairs, and I shall continue. That will be the last series for June, for the month of June. And if you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and do not forget to comment. And I shall see you in the next series, the final one for June 2023 prelims current affairs topics for the month of June. And until then, it's very happy learning.